Pessoal, boa noite. Foi rapidinho a passagem de um workshop, de uma palestra para o outro. No caso, a gente conversou anteriormente com o Marcelo. Marcelo falou sobre posicionamento. Quem estava lá pegou um pouco dos insights dele. Eu, particularmente, eu cheguei até a falar um pouco com ele agora no final do bate-papo, rapidinho, para fazer um agradecimento. Gostei muito daquele exemplo que ele utilizou para o caso de um account executive que colocou 5 pontos na hora de conversar direto com o potencial cliente dele. E os CTOs obrigatoriamente se conectavam com aquilo ali e falavam, poxa, dos 5 eu conversei 3 com o meu CEO mais cedo, sabe? E eu acho que isso daí é bem legal, bem aplicado direto para o nosso cenário, sabe? Para o nosso cenário de vendas, que está executando ali na mão na massa. Eu acho que os SDRs podem pensar talvez em algum posicionamento que se encaixe em algum momento de um fluxo de cadência, seja um fluxo de cadência de prospecção, seja um fluxo de cadência para acrescentar aquele valor a mais. Poxa, um fluxo de cadência talvez de confirmação, você manda um pouco de qual que é o posicionamento, de passagem de bastão para o vendedor já chegar com um assunto bem high level para conversar diretamente com esse potencial comprador e conseguir fazer uma qualificação mais aprofundada, tá bom? Pessoal, esse bate-papo que teve com a Trish agora, que ela é best-seller, ela é autora que vende, no caso, até hoje, ela trabalha tanto com uma consultoria focada no processo de segmentação, também de processo de prospecção no geral, como também ela é best-seller dessa primeira posição para esse livro focado de vendas. É um livro super válido, eu já falei anteriormente dele, mas é um dos primeiros livros que eu li, tanto na época que eu entrei como SDR, como também em um segundo momento para criar novos processos de SDR. Era um livro que eu utilizava, inclusive, como referência para qualquer tomada de decisão, seja na hora de contratar um perfil para o meu time, seja focado de contratar perfil para determinado tipo de cliente, tá bom? E, pessoal, o formato que a gente seguiu para esse bate-papo é o que a gente chama de Q&A, Questions and Answers. Perguntas e respostas que a gente foi fazendo junto com a Trish para a gente conseguir cada vez mais entrar no X da questão sobre determinado tipo de tema. E a gente não tirou essas perguntas de qualquer lugar. A gente fez um levantamento das perguntas com os nossos, com as pessoas do nosso time, com o time interno, com o time da Riv, como também a gente. Eu não sei se vocês conhecem. Se vocês não conhecem, vocês estão perdendo. Eu vou deixar para vocês aqui agora. Sales Heroes é nossa comunidade. A gente tem um envolvimento direto com vários profissionais de vendas que eu faço um agradecimento direto. Eu não vou citar nomes aqui porque eu sei que eu vou esquecer alguém, mas foi o pessoal que ajudou a gente em definir essas perguntas. E eles também mandaram algumas perguntas para a gente, pensando sempre, poxa, a gente tem essa oportunidade de conversar com a Trish, qual pergunta que você gostaria que fosse feita? Qual pergunta que você acha que a gente não pode deixar de fazer obrigatoriamente para ela, tá bom? Esse bate-papo ele foi conduzido pelo Gabriel. O Gabriel ele é nosso diretor de growth aqui na Riv, e ele foi direcionando um bate-papo com ela, pensando em cada um dos pontos, desde definição de perfil, de contratação, de critérios e boas práticas para um processo de SDR, como também o que a gente pode fazer em um segundo momento para ter uma cultura mais focada em resultado e garantir que a gente vai ter mais consistência no nosso processo de SDR, tá bom? Então, falamos um pouco de cenários um pouquinho mais gerais, como também falamos um pouco do cenário mais focado no momento que nós estamos passando agora, o momento de isolamento social. Eles estão um pouco mais à frente dentro da curva de contaminação e também saída do isolamento. Então, eu acho que dá para tirar muito insight sobre ações que a gente pode tomar dentro do nosso processo comercial para garantir que a gente vai voltar para a normalidade o quanto antes, para a gente vai seguir um processo cada vez mais adaptável e mais antifrágil, tá bom? Então, eu vou pedir aqui agora pro Henrique, nosso videomaker, ele vai colocar o vídeo. Eu tô aqui, eu tô acompanhando vocês. No finalzinho, eu vou voltar para a gente fazer um encerramento rápido, falar de alguns pontos. Quem tiver dúvida e quiser ir mandando no chat, pode ir mandando, que a gente está acompanhando por aqui, ok?
Sejam bem-vindos à Unite Conference 2020. Vamos ter uma conversa super legal agora com Trish Bertuzzi. Ela é fundadora e CEO do The Bridge Group. Eles têm mais de 400 clientes de tecnologia como IBM e Intel. Ela é autora do The Sales Development Playbook, número 1 do best-seller na Amazon. Trish, it's great to have you here.
Thank you. I wish I knew Portuguese. I'm just like a one language speaking idiot. Sorry.
I mean, you just know what you have to, so that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I sometimes myself I'd like to get to know better, even Spanish and other language, but we gotta know English, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so Trish, I was just introducing you. I was saying you're founder and CEO of the Bridge Group. You have clients from the tech giants to some startups, and you're the author of this sales development playbook, which is a great reference for anyone. Oh, there it is. It's a great reference for anyone who wants to get to know more about the sales development world. And well, we're going to start with you introducing yourself. I'd like to let you do the honors.
Okay, so Trish Bertuzzi. I did found the Bridge Group back in 1998. So we've been in business 22 years, focused on the B2B tech space. Worked with at this point, over 400 different companies. Like Gabriel said, some of the biggest brands in the business, as well as smaller to mid-sized tech companies, offer a variety of services, but they're all wrapped around sales development, inside sales, account management, really anything that involves virtual selling.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been in a long time in the game, so I would like to know for many people, how did you start? How did you get into this world? We're seeing a lot of people from all over the place. The people from biotechnology and people from many different backgrounds starting in sales. And how did you start?
I was a waitress.
Okay.
I was a waitress, and I used to wait on the president and CEO of a tech company back in the 3 martini lunch days. And one day he told me I was rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and hungry, and I should be in sales. And I said, give me a job. And he did. And it was selling over the phone, and I loved it. And that was the name of that tune. I was in sales for life.
Yeah, that's great attitude. I mean, we have a lot of passion when we talk about sales, because we just get to have the relationship with other people and be able to connect and give right solutions for the right people. And I mean, just for me, it's great it's a great fulfilling practice to have. Okay, so we're going to start talking about, we just started talking about some introduction. We're going to go for strategy about sales development. It's a really we are taking a really broad take here, because many people in our audience are new to the sales development strategy. So we would like to hear from you about it, and then we're going to go talk about recruiting, training, technology, and some managerial challenges. So Trish, talking about strategy, and we saw a big movement here in Brazil when we were talking about the predictable revenue, and then it just went boom. Everyone was talking about sales development, of dividing team on prospectors and closers, and that's where it got really big here. So I would like to hear from you. What's your take on the specialization and on the sales development part of the job? And how did it get so big, and how big should it get?
Okay, so I mean, I've been in sales development for over 30 years, so it's not new. It's just universally accepted now. And I'm a firm believer in most cases of front-ending a sales process with a sales development team, offloading that initial phase of the sales cycle to someone who does just that, really does a good job of executing the initial phases of the sales cycle. It's not necessarily right for every company. You have to really think through your strategy. For instance, if you're selling to SMB, and it's a one-call close, you don't need a sales development team getting in the way of your selling team. They should be able to reach the owner of the business, have the conversation, launch the sales process, conduct the deal. having said that, there's many flavors of sales development, and it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy. It is not a predictable revenue model. I mean, that's from 2004, so it's certainly evolved since then. You really need to think through, what am I trying to accomplish? Where do I want my revenue to come from? How am I going to go get it? And now, how am I going to deploy all my resources to make sure that I accomplish my goals?
That's great. We talk about we are sales engagement platform, and we are really talking about what are the principles on sales that you have to go after. How do you stop going after formulas and just established ways, so you can think on what you actually have to do to develop your own market, what you have to do to go after your own customers, and it's specific for each and every one.
It is. It's very specific. Not that there aren't buckets of strategies, because there most certainly are, but every company has their own unique set of parameters, which is why I don't like frameworks or models that people try to fit people into. I mean, there are so many variables. It ranges from brand and name recognition, average deal size, average sales cycle, what level in the organization are you selling to? Where do you fit in the technology adoption life cycle? Are you direct? Are you channel? Are you inbound? Are you outbound? Are you a combination of both? I mean, there is a whole slew of variables that come into play when you're making these kinds of decisions.
Absolutely. So one thing that we like to help our audience is to get to know if it is a process for them, if is sales development a good strategy. We have customers that actually go for much more relationship-based selling. They do, not that sales development isn't, but they do account-based selling with account managers that just sell from the whole process, from prospecting to delivering to help implementing. So we understand that there are many criteria to take that. And one thing that we say a lot to our customers is to test. So you can go and test new strategies. You can go and test it's good to know the model, so you can have resources, mental resources to develop and to try new things. And some things might work and some things might not. It's a good thing to have the habit of testing frequently.
Frequently, but not in a knee-jerk manner. Like, I see so many companies that are like, oh, we tried that, it didn't work. And I'm like, well, how long did you execute that for? 30 days. I'm like, you have a 4-month sales cycle and you tested a strategy for 30 days and you think you got good results? Maybe not,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've seen the movement. So we got a lot of tools now. Well, I'm just getting ahead of myself, but we have a lot of tools now that try to help managers to have more data available. But let's get back on track. The next phase we just talked a little about strategy. And once you know that sales development does work for you in your market, and I know you are really specialized in tech companies, but there are many other sectors that are adopting sales development as their own strategy right now. And there's a lot of confusion. Should it be for me? I'm not. I do things for 20, 30, 40 years the same way. I shouldn't change. And there are a lot of resistance in that matter. But once you know that you're going for sales development, how should managers and founders come to establish their teams?
Hire us. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that question.
Okay. So how should people think about the hiring process? Should they go after people who are specialists already of consultancy companies? Should they try inside before with their own teams? How should you take?
Don't know. Once
Okay.
again, you have to take all those variables into consideration. If you don't have the bandwidth, the passion, and the expertise in your business to run that group, then you should outsource for sure. You'll learn a lot. It'll cost you, but it's an investment worth making. Give it a go. But if you do have, once again, bandwidth, passion, and expertise in-house, and you want to build it internally, there's a whole series of questions you need to ask yourself. Like, once again, I think the hardest question I ask clients, and it's hysterical, is I say, where do you want your revenue to come from? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, specifically, where do you want your revenue to come from? What market, what buyer, what product, what vertical? When people say to me, oh, we're a horizontal play, I'm like, oh, that's not good, because, those who focus are those who win. So I think once you land the plane on where you want your revenue to come from, then you can think about, okay, so what is my sales process going to look like? What does the front end of that sales process look like? And do I need to apply some very specific resources there to get me to the pipeline I need to generate the kind of numbers I want?
Absolutely. I love those who focus are those who win. We really see that all over the place. Some customers saying, oh, I sell to anyone. Anyone can use my solution. And that's not useful for a thriving business. I mean, once you can specialize your communications, your copywriting, and how you approach the market, or the habits of that market you're approaching, you can align your whole process around that and get more results.
Bingo.
Great. So here in Brazil, I don't know if that's a big practice with your customers. We see a lot of companies see sales development representatives as an entry-level professional. So maybe someone who wants to go and become a closer, wants to become a salesperson, they start as a sales development representative. How do you see that? Is this a good take? Is this a good way to establish your sales development process, or should senior professionals be also in sales development?
Well, I think it depends on, once again, how complex is your solution? What level of expertise do you SDRs need to have in the industry, in your industry, in your buyer's industry, in the problems you're trying to solve? So what I see fail quite often is that people bring on SDRs and they're going to make you an AE in under a year. They throw them on the phones, don't even give them good training. They're failing miserably as SDRs, but they're chomping at the bit to be an AE. And our research proves that when you promote from SDR to AE too quickly, you have a 65% fail rate. 65% fail rate. It's crazy. So yeah, so you really have to invest, and it is an investment, in onboarding, in ongoing training, on perfecting process. Even if an SDR is super successful, and you're like going to promote you to AE, they don't know how to negotiate. They don't know how to handle real objections. They don't know how to work with procurement. They don't know how to do a close or position against the competition in a meaningful way. Like, we said we're going to promote them. We promote them. They fail. And we're like, what happened?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love this, that it's a whole different set of skills. I mean, you can't take that closers, AEs will be good hunters or SDRs, and you can say that good SDRs will be great closers.
Well, let's think about that. Okay. Let's think about that for a moment, because I think part of the reason AEs don't make their quota as often as they should is because they have let their prospecting skills atrophy.
Absolutely.
So if it doesn't come at them and it's not warm, they don't know how to launch the sales process. And I also think when we look at conversion metrics for people who do have SDR teams, the biggest place of pipeline leakage is in that handoff between SDRs and AEs, because an AE will take the meeting and they're like, well, I wasn't qualified. No, it was an introductory meeting. Your job was to craft the vision, have the conversation, arouse curiosity. They don't know how to do that anymore a lot of times.
Yes. And with that in mind, I'd like to so we can take on the next step, which is about training. And we are fanatical about content and all the books. Our team is really everyone is always reading something else. And what I see that's most interesting in our culture is that many times we are not reading sales books in order to improve in sales. We are developing on knowing more about human consciousness. We are going about neuroscience. We're going about markets and economy, and all that will help us become better salespeople.
Absolutely.
And many times sales training is really focused on process, on are you repeating, are you saying the words, are you maybe establishing the right connection, and are you doing the procedure right? And we're not taking, many times people don't take it holistic. And one of the things okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
One of the things we see is the importance of making training a process. So a constant, ever evolving process, not a fixed, one-time thing.
It shouldn't be an event on a checklist. It should be ingrained into your culture. Completely agree with you there. Definitely should be ingrained in your culture. If it's an event, we did training. Great, check. We're out of here. Doesn't stick. You don't get behavior modification with a training event. So you really do need to build it into your culture. Training, coaching, real enablement.
Yeah. Would you, you see a lot of that happening. Did you see some of it's really tough for many people to wrap their heads around culture, and have an intentional culture is a hard job. And do you see it as some best practice you could share with us?
It depends.
Yeah.
Once again, like I love the fact that you said that your team was it sounded like you have a book club, and the book club isn't just focused on sales books, because then you're one trick pony, but it focused on books about finance, focused on books about emotional intelligence, focused on books about selling from the heart, or whale hunting, or there's so many great books that are ancillary to sales and that will impact your ability to be a better seller, that don't necessarily fall into the category of sales, when you look on Amazon. So I love that idea that you're doing that. The other thing we always say to our clients is ask your buyers what they're reading. Think about it. If you're selling to CMOs and your CMOs are reading, Selling from the Heart, wouldn't it be great if your sellers or your SDRs could say, hey, did you read that book, Selling from the Heart? What did you think about that? Immediate empathy, door opener, great conversation. So yeah, I love the fact that you're doing that.
I added another one to my repertoire. I'm going to ask everyone what they're reading.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I need to do it more often myself.
Yeah, we just get stuck on our routines, and but that's a great tip. So do you see, it's just curiosity that popped up in my mind, do you see any alignment for incentives in order to make your team want to train, or should it be just a cultural thing, or you can have both?
Yeah. So here's the deal. we all talk about making it a cultural thing and how it's the company's responsibility. But in reality, the only person responsible for your own success is you, whether you're an SDR, an AE, management, whatever the case may be. If you're sitting there waiting for your company to make you better at your job, good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, taking things into your own hands, coming up with ideas that you want to try, or processes that you think would have a bigger impact, or reading those books that we were talking about, or there's a gazillion online training and webinars available nowadays. Taking that up upon yourself to improve yourself, having the passion and the desire to hone your craft, those are going to be the successful people.
That's awesome. I saw that. I started going after knowing more of product, and that helped me know a lot more about what I deliver as a professional, what we deliver to the market, and that made me a lot more passionate about what I was doing, because I simply got to know better. And by that, I mean empathy. My empathy level on the situation just rose up, and I could actually see the impact on the little things I did on the result for the customers and for their customers and so on.
Yep.
There's a great anecdote that says that three guys building on a wall, and the pastor come and ask the first one, what are you doing? And he says, I'm building a wall. And he asks the second one, and the second one says, well, I'm putting food on, I'm getting money to feed my family. And when he asked the third one, he said, I'm building a cathedral. I'm bringing the word of my God to other people. So, I mean, when you attach meaning to what you do on a daily basis, and when you understand it profoundly, there's a great deal of energy that just goes through your body, and you can just focus on delivering better.
I'm so going to steal that analogy from you.
Please do. I stole from someone, you know.
Yeah.
That's great, Trish. Okay. So there's a lot of things about training, and about a lot of things about establishing the culture of self-development, of having people. And I really believe that you should look for it when you're hiring. You should look for people that have that cultural fit, where they are just hungry. Oh,
it's so hard.
It is.
You know, at best, you have a 50-50 shot. You know, it's just so hard, especially for SDRs. So first or second job. I mean, they don't know what they want to be when they grow up. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. So, it's really, really hard. And I think the best thing we can do is give them exposure to the job before they actually take it. Because you'll say to people, do you like being on the phone? Do you like, reaching out to people, starting conversations? And it's like, oh yeah. Well, then suffer massive rejection for 9 days in a row. And let's see if you still go, oh yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's a really good tip, because you just explained to us, if you can't find that passion, that drive, because people are just maybe in their 20s and just starting their careers, and they don't really know much about it, and they should experiment it. But you should look for behavioral aspects and maybe psychological aspects that makes a tendency and reduces your risk to have someone who is not fit for the job.
Mm-hmm. I agree. We partner with a group that offers a candidate assessment. And I think the most valuable part of what they offer is that they measure someone's sales DNA and their willingness to sell. So I think those are two things that you can't teach. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah, that's gold. I wonder how they do it.
Magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Magic. I think science is magic, right? I'm going with magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Is that thing about magic tricks? Once you know how it's done, it looks kind of simple, but before you know, it's just
Yep.
it just blows your mind.
Yep.
All right. So Trish, I would like to get your take a little bit on technology. We are seeing every day there's a new platform, there's a new category, there's a new function, and some just can get more people, and some are secondary. Third, maybe they can hit the mass market because they are right fit for some processes. They are the right fit for some sectors and for not for others. And how do you see the rise of sales tools? We have in the past decades a lot of marketing tools having more profound exposure, but now for sales tools, it's getting kind of new. We have different ways of doing, and how do you see that?
Well, you're talking to the wrong person because I love technology.
Oh, great.
I use a ton of technology.
We are too.
Yeah, I use a ton. It's the biggest part of my whole budget is software. I think, though, before you worry about, I mean, CRM, having a fabulous CRM, got to do it. That's table stakes. Having great data, table stakes. And I'm going to say this. Ask yourself as a leader, in our ideal customer profile, on a scale of 1 to 4, with 4 being excellent, how would I rate the data I'm providing to my sales and marketing organization? And if you say something less than a 4, I'm going to tell you, give up headcount, give up marketing campaigns, give up anything you have to go buy great data. Great data is the #1 lever you can pull for productivity. It's not fun to buy. It's not sexy. It's expensive. And sometimes it sucks. But #1 lever you can pull for productivity.
Absolutely. Wow. We are just we have a really big effort to make that 87% of managers who don't trust their data to just have availability of data. It's trying to sync salespeople behavior with their day-to-day tasks on automatically having their CRM, and that's a big challenge. And sometimes it's really good to hear you saying it, because sometimes we just don't see how important it is. And do you see it being more important for technology sectors or for any sector?
Anybody.
All right.
How do you, if you look at your sales and marketing teams as machines, right? Pipeline and revenue machines. Well, what's the fuel? Well, the fuel is giving them great data so they can get at your buyers. You know, you can't give them an empty tank and then expect them to accomplish their goals. So I think if you look at data as fuel, good data as fuel, you know, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And with that, I'd like to get us to talk about metrics, because we're still there's many times that we have some types of data being measured and for optimal performance. So what do you see for sales development teams or for sales teams that they should be looking? What are the metrics they should be looking on a daily basis? What are the metrics they should be looking for maybe on a monthly basis? Ça dépend.
What's their model?
Absolutely.
What are they trying to accomplish? I mean, once again, there's a whole set of variables there. I
Yeah.
do think, though, we have evolved beyond measuring just activity.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think people are really focused on measuring things like conversion ratios. So, you know, how many inbound leads convert? How easy is it to get at inbound? How many initial meetings convert to the next step? I mean, I think conversions is really one of the most critical metrics we can look at.
Yeah, that makes sense. We get a lot of trouble when we are looking for the market in order to segment and give that data for profiles, for customer profiles. So you can better decide on what is your best ideal customer profile. So once you see maybe there's a customer who has lower ticket ACV, and maybe they close faster or they close more, and having that balance is quite the challenge. And the base for that is having good data, and you're absolutely right.
Yep. It's not fun and it's not cheap, but you gotta have it.
Do you see teams as having someone just to manage the CRM data?
I mean, it's one of the things I do recommend in my book is a data analyst person to help out. I think it really is dependent on where you are in your data journey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so we talked about training and technology. There's a lot going on, and you said you're a really tech lover.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'd love to hear a little bit from what you're seeing. What are some tools that are helping you?
Oh my God. Why don't I tell you what I use?
Okay.
And I'll probably forget some. So let me think. I have Salesforce.
Okay.
I have HubSpot. I have Seamless. I have Outreach. I have LinkedIn. I have Chorus. Chorus just integrated Bombora. I'm also using LeadSift. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but those are the ones I use every day.
That's a full tech stack.
Yeah.
Maybe more than most people will ever use.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have my favorites, you know.
Yeah. You don't have to go that far, so you don't make people sad. Make some people happy.
Yeah. I don't like making, well, do I care? No. It won't make you sad.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's all feedback, right?
Yeah.
They have to go after it. So, okay, one of the big challenges on management that we see is how should people avoid the pitfalls in technology implementation? I mean, sometimes, as you said, there's stages on your maturity for technology. And what are some pitfalls that are easily seen?
Well, you know, buying a technology out of the box, slap dabbing it into your process, and then like, well, I'm not getting the results I wanted. I mean, I think before you implement the technology, and even before you select the technology, you should do a very robust analysis of requirements of the primary team that's going to use the technology, but also of the ancillary teams. So, you know, you want a holistic view of what kinds of data is going in, what kinds of data is coming out, what the UIs need to look like, what's going to be measured, ease of use. You know, I just think there's a lot that needs to be mapped out before, not only before implementation, but before vendor selection.
Yeah, absolutely. We really think that as a planning process. So you should know what you're going to do before you even think of the platform.
Yep.
And then you just go after the platform that can help you more. What fits your process and fit what you're about to do.
Yep.
Okay. So when we talk about some management and of the whole sales development and sales, one of the largest by far challenges we see is SDR turnover. As you said, 64% of SDRs that go into AE, they will leave the company, they will turn over, and that's better chance to flip a coin. So how do you say to mitigate that risk and to reduce that impact of turnover?
Yeah, so well, hire well. I mean, if you hire better, that helps your attrition. But I think, people get focused on money as being the motivator for people in that role. And of course, money's important. It always will be. But I think what people in that role are really looking for is a learning experience. They want to add new skills to their resume, right? Mm-hmm. So if you build a learning culture and have some type of career pathing that says, look, if you're successful for 6 months, we'll teach you how to do these things. And then if you're successful for another 6 months, we're going to teach you how to do a discovery call or whatever the case may be. But I think new skills are the ultimate motivator. And I don't think most companies are using that well.
Okay, that makes sense. It was something we just talked about, but you believe that focusing on developing skills is a big motivator.
And will keep people with you. Think about it. They can go work someplace else and just bang the phones all day or whatever, or they could stay where they are and see. You have to make it real, though. You can't just, blow smoke. So you have to have a program that they see that they can become part of that teaches them those new skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes absolute sense. One of the things that I like to see is maturity level for professionals, and it's kind of a generalization. It's like a framework, but I know you don't like that. It's useful sometimes. Yeah, I'm gonna stop using that from now on.
I would be retired on the beach in Belize if I had been selling frameworks all these years, because you build one, plug many,
It works until it stops working, right?
You what?
It works until it stops. It
works until you realize that you're in a box that doesn't fit you.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things we have been saying a lot, and our CEO is bringing to discussion on our community and with our audience, is that there are people who establish models and methodologies, and that might have worked for them on their specific context.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean if you execute exactly what they say and it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that you're poor at your job, but just maybe the process isn't helping you at all.
Correct. Like I don't know if you can see it. I have a sign over there. It says #variables matter.
I'm going to steal that from you.
My pleasure. I'm stealing your wall story, so you can.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So, one question still about management. For companies growing fast, how do you control the sales systems without breaking the whole thing? I mean, maybe should it break?
Well, it's gonna break, so you got to be ready. You got to learn from it. I think what happens is we launch a process. It either works, so we never relook at it, and then it gets stale and it stops working. We don't know why. Or we launch a sales process and 30 days later, we're like, it didn't work. Knee jerk, something else. New framework, whatever. Let's do something else. I think, when you're looking at strategy and process, you got to really be strategic. You really have to think about, what am I trying to accomplish? What is on the positive side of the list? What's on the negative side of the list, and what's in the middle? And what can I change or tweak and test to move more things over to the positive side?
Yeah, that's a full-time job, right?
Full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As marketers and salespeople, it really looks like it's not that the process is about that, but it's a culture that we just gotta keep improving.
Exactly. I love that.
Oi, pessoal. Nossa, esse bate-papo com a Trish, que o Gabriel conduziu, eu tiro, assim, algumas sacadas que foram geniais. Eu não posso Assim, eu não sei quantas vezes que eu vou querer ver esse conteúdo de novo, sabe? Acredito que semana que vem ele vai estar disponível para todo mundo ver ele novamente. Eu acho que teve muitos insightzinhos bacanas que a gente pode tirar para cada uma das etapas do processo, sabe? Desde contratação, desde como lidar com dados, desde como lidar com framework especificamente. Para mim, tem algumas outras coisas que ficam muito claras, assim, também. O primeiro ponto é a noção que a Trish tem sobre determinados tipos de processo, a ponto de falar exatamente o que precisa ser levantado ou ser explicado sobre determinado tipo de assunto. E o segundo ponto é justamente os traços bem americanizados que ela tem, de dar muita ênfase para algumas palavras e não ser uma pessoa tão relacional assim. Mas foi um bate-papo excelente, espero que vocês tenham gostado, tá bom? E, pessoal, para amanhã, eu quero falar para vocês o que vai acontecer amanhã, tá bom? Amanhã cedo, a gente vai ter outro workshop focado também na trilha de execução, workshop focado para SDRs e também para vendedores. O tema de amanhã vai ser sobre métricas dentro do processo e como que, por mais que nem sempre a gente seja responsável por mensurar ou seja cobrado diretamente pelas nossas próprias métricas, a gente tem que fazer o acompanhamento desde o dia 1 para garantir que esse processo esteja rodando bem, para que a gente também consiga entregar constantemente os melhores resultados possíveis. Quem vai conduzir esse workshop vai ser a Isabelle Stati, nossa líder do time de onboarding. À tarde, eu vou falar exatamente para o workshop de gestão, a gente vai falar sobre planejamento comercial. O conteúdo está incrível, eu preparei, eu fiz uma revisão nele agora à tarde. A gente vai falar sobre alguns aspectos que são importantes na hora de estruturar o seu processo de planejamento, pegando que agora a gente está entrando no último período, no último Q do ano, né, no último trimestre do ano. Esse é o momento mais que oportuno para a gente falar disso. Aí, o que a gente vai ter de palestra amanhã, tá bom? Eu acho que é um dos conteúdos que eu também estou esperando muito, é um conteúdo do Vinícius Marim, o Vini, nosso CEO. A gente vai falar sobre os hábitos de sales engagement, tá bom, pessoal? A gente vai trazer uma visão muito legal sobre metodologia. Eu passei o olho no conteúdo que ele preparou, tá bem legal também. E a gente vai ter, a partir do momento das 8 horas, lembrando, o workshop do Vini vai ser das 19 até as 20, e das 20 até as 21 horas, a gente vai trazer o Guilherme Avelino, tá bom? O Jimmy, para quem não conhece, o Jimmy ele traz sempre uma perspectiva bem legal sobre desenvolvimento da competência de vendas, e sempre que ele traz alguma coisa nova focada em coaching, focada em contratação, focada em como desenvolver determinados tipos de habilidade. Então, fique esperto na caixa de e-mail, vocês vão receber o aviso, quem já se inscreveu, precisando, tendo alguma dúvida, alguma dificuldade, pode mandar e-mail para a gente, pode mandar mensagem que a gente resolve por aqui. Pessoal, boa noite, até amanhã nós estamos de volta, tá bom? Unite Conference, pessoal.